Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day. And I hope everyone's having a great beginning to your new weekend out there so far. There's a few things to talk about in this morning's video. And the first thing we'll cover, of course, is today's weather. We'll speak on current conditions, the latest outlooks, and then we'll break down the country section by section, zoom into a couple areas, regions, states, things like that. And after we get done talking about today's weather, we'll speak on the weather to come and the pattern throughout the rest of the weekend into next week. A lot of people are wondering, when is it going to stop raining? And I can speak for my area specifically on this here in central South Carolina, which is where I live. It seems to rain every afternoon, evening, and last night it rained just pretty much all night. In fact, we lost power for a couple minutes. It was not a big deal at all, but the inside of our house sounds like an airport because we have fans going, we have sound machines going, and I have no idea how people sleep in dead silence. So as soon as we lost power, it was like equivalent to someone screaming. The dead silence was like a scream to me and my family because it just seems like, literally all the air gets sucked out in the house. So luckily, that wasn't a big deal at all, though. It just came right back on. But it's been very rainy, very stormy. Nothing too crazy or significant. But we'll explain what's driving all this and how certain areas of the country run a higher risk of more higher end severe weather and things like that. We'll just talk about the pattern. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So this is current conditions, waking up to just another soggy Saturday morning across areas of the Northeast. It seems like you guys just cannot have a rain-free weekend, and this weekend is no different. You're going to get a lot of rain. You're waking up to it. Hopefully it's not a washout for everybody, but the Southeast just waking up to some showers and downpours, nothing too crazy. We got a more organized area of heavy rain and storm activity in Arkansas, getting into Memphis, northern Mississippi, western areas of Tennessee. Even got some flash flood warnings ongoing, and a more organized complex of storms moving pretty slowly across areas of Kansas. You got areas of this in Oklahoma, and it's starting to move out of Nebraska. This has severe thunderstorm warnings on it right now. We got flash flood warnings. We got an area of energy up here in the Dakotas, some energy up here in Wisconsin getting into the UP, and we got some flow riding on top of this ridge in Montana. Literally, this is the pattern right now. And let's draw on this for a minute. I just want to discuss this. Flow's kind of going like this, and then there's weaknesses in the ridge that kind of allow for some of these storms to go like this. Some of this activity goes like that. And then we still just have a weakness in the pattern right in here, and this is just allowing for a higher chance of widespread showers and storms outside of what's already generating a lot of this action, which is this heat and humidity. And we just got a lot of rain on top of this weakness in the flow right up here in like areas of the northern mid-Atlantic and the Northeast and things like that. But the ridge is spiking across this region. That's why it's so quiet across the Rockies. And this will drive a lot of our conversation deeper into this video. But let's move past this. Watches, warnings, and advisories. We got heat advisories across New Mexico, portions of extreme western Texas, some dense fog out there, very moist air mass building all the way up into the upper Midwest. We got flood watches that are continuing, across areas of Louisiana, southeast Texas. We got flood watches scattered about across the mid-Atlantic, Virginia, Maryland. And we got some flood watches also across central PA. A lot of rain is going to continue to fall in these areas. So that's that. We continue to move forward here. The Storm Prediction Center outlook. First thing we'll mention, obviously, is the higher area of a severe weather risk for today, and that is the slight risk that goes from Montana through areas of Wyoming, the Dakotas, all the way into the western half of Nebraska. It does include a section of northeast Colorado, and we got Colorado, I don't know what I just said then, but we got a marginal risk that goes around the slight risk area, gets all the way just inside the Minnesota border, and pretty much stretches across all the central and southern plains. But let's not ignore this light green area. You can still get a strong to severe storm in this area, but huge region of the southeast, the deep south, all the way up to the Ohio Valley, mid-Atlantic, has a general risk of thunderstorms. And we're going to get widespread storms in this area today for sure. But the tornado threat, there is a 2% risk in this area, so you can't rule out a tornado with any kind of storm. Sometimes they just drive their own environment, but there is enough flow up here overlapping a moist environment to generate a tornado risk, a 2% risk, not a huge deal, but be aware of that. Wind threat, 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour in this yellow area. And then the hail threat, not only is there a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger in that yellow area, but in the black outline region with the black dashes going in between, there is a risk of significant sized hail, which is hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. So be aware of some very large hail with some of these storms. Flooding threat will be there, even in the green areas. And I just kind of reiterate that because, I mean, here in my neck of the woods, here in the eastern sections of Columbia and Richland County, some areas got 4 to 6 inches of rain yesterday, and we were only I think we were only under a marginal risk of flash flooding. In fact, I know we were. But there is a couple areas where they're more confident on more rain falling over the next 24 to 36 hours. And that is in these yellow areas. This is where we have a 15% risk of flash flooding occurring in areas of Kansas, Oklahoma, and then sections of the upper Midwest and the mid-Atlantic. So just be aware of that. That will continue over the next several days. And then the update on the tropics, nothing going on, nothing to mention. No tropical activity is expected over the next 7 days. I continue to keep an eye out on it, but I don't want to overhype anything that isn't there. And I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to kind of say this more and more, just kind of throw it inside my videos somewhere. People are going to overhype the heck out of hurricane season this year. So just be careful. You know, if you don't trust me, I don't take any offense to that, guys, but be careful who you trust. And some people want to believe that the worst case scenarios are going to happen. And some people side on the area of caution too much, well, not caution, but they're just, they just don't believe anything bad's going to happen. I guess you can call that gullible, but just be careful. Kind of take the middle ground with that. Be careful what you believe out there, because someone's going to take an area of clouds out there in the Atlantic and just say it's going to become a Category 5 hurricane. They will show you just one model run and then won't talk about it all. Just be careful. Just trying to look out for y'all. So we continue to move forward here. The southeast, I'm not going to zoom into anywhere except when we break down how much rain could fall, because it's another day just like yesterday. I'm going to take it to about the middle of the afternoon, where we're just going to have numerous showers and storms anywhere. It looks like the more zoomed in area that could get this is like Kentucky and Tennessee, where we could have more organized kind of areas of storms that could develop, sweep across middle Tennessee, Kentucky. The actual, what's left over of this short wave is still spinning up here in sections of Kentucky, the Midwest, the Mid-South. But everywhere else, you're going to get this push of moisture flow kind of wrapping around this. We're going to get a lot of storm activity along the Gulf coastline, points inland, storms across Carolinas, Georgia, and we take it to this evening. The models are not going to handle this well because they're just not, I don't think, designed to handle pop-up activity well. They're more designed to handle more organized activity. But this is this evening. We got storms scattered about across Florida, Georgia. I mean, they could be anywhere. I'm going to talk about this area right here, though, in the Mid-Atlantic here in a second when we go to the northeast time stamp. But we've taken it to the evening hours, and we could maintain more of an organized area of showers and storms across Alabama and Mississippi. This is the middle of the night tonight into northern Georgia, and then we get into tomorrow morning. And, of course, with the loss of any kind of daytime heating overnight, we just wake up to damp conditions and no organized convection. But rainfall between now and, say, 7 p.m. tomorrow night. So kind of the rest of our weekend. You can tell that they're going for more rainfall in northern areas of Alabama and Mississippi. Some areas in the purple that's showing up, and this is from the Weather Prediction Center. This is not going to nail this because this is driven off a little bit of flow and a little bit more of in a way of like pop-up and nature kind of storm activity, but could get over an inch of rain in those areas. But, as I said before, I looked at this for like South Carolina yesterday. Of course, it wasn't predicting 4 to 6 inches of rain for anybody, and that's what we got. It just happens. Sometimes these outflow boundaries will fire up, and storms will just continuously fire over the same areas. If you follow me on Twitter, I post a lot about that, or X, whatever it's called these days. I post a lot about outflow boundaries in the summer, which is what drives a lot of our storm activity in the southeast when we get deeper in the summer. Now, we'll take a look at, say, Kentucky and Tennessee. Looks like it's going to be a lot of rain for the eastern sections of Kentucky and Tennessee today. Could get over an inch in certain areas. I mean, a lot of rain could fall. Doesn't mean it's going to rain all day, guys. It just means when it does rain, it's probably going to rain cats and dogs. I don't know if y'all have heard that term before. But Florida, same thing, splotchy rainfall totals. You know, it's going to be tough to figure out where exactly these will form, but it does like the idea of the western peninsula of to get more rain than, say, the eastern sections here. So we continue to move forward. Look at Georgia and South Carolina, and yeah, it really likes the idea of a lot of rain falling here in the eastern sections of South Carolina, just off the coastline. Could get 1 to 2 inches of rain, but you know, half an inch here, 2 inches there, nothing here. I mean, some areas could get absolutely nothing. Happens every single day in the summer where it's raining down the street, pouring, could get a half an inch in 10 minutes. And then your, neighbor Billy Bob ain't getting a drop of rain. He's hooping and hollering about how the weather people are always wrong. So that's just how it is. But anyways, the northeast, just more of a solid chunk of light to moderate rain, kind of cruising over the same areas. Kind of a blocking pattern, not allowing for a lot of this rain to overspread into most of New England. Just kind of cloudy, cooler conditions. But the PA is probably just going to get rain most of the morning. Some more organized thunderstorm activity could develop at the southern end of this rain, and you can tell I would say that there's a chance we might get a marginal risk here in this area of Maryland, southern PA, maybe the eastern areas of the Panhandle of West Virginia, northern VA into Maryland. Could get a marginal upgrade here in the next hour or so from the Storm Prediction Center. I could definitely see that. But we get this afternoon a lot of thunderstorm activity for Ohio into areas of PA, certainly Virginia, Maryland, widespread thunderstorm activity, more so light rain in New York City, and some showers will develop, surge across New England into the overnight hours to bring some damp conditions across New York, Vermont, and we're going to wake up to more scattered downpours across PA, Ohio, for tomorrow morning. And just taking a closer look at my friends here across the DC corridor, starting off around late morning, we take it to say 1 p.m. You see the storms north of Hagerstown on your screen. We continue. These storms could intensify. So this is 4 p.m., this is 5 p.m. It shows a lot of organized convection storms hitting Baltimore, DC. Could get some stuff near Harrisonburg, Charlottesville. And these could pack a punch. I could see a marginal risk getting issued for this area for today. This would just make it, if they do put a marginal risk, it would just mean there's just a little bit of a higher risk of these storms hitting severe limits in these areas. So just be mindful. These storms will sort of cluster up together, affect the Delmarva, the Tidewater. This is 8 p.m. Probably going to be a lightning show tonight in these areas. Definitely a summer type vibe. And then this area of storms will head on off and move across sections of southern Maryland and etc. And a lot of rain could fall in this area. I could see more than this amount falling between now and 8 p.m. Sunday, tomorrow. Half inch to an inch of rain, but it's liking the idea of heavier rain, short pump. You guys in Virginia are going to have to tell me. This always pops up on Pivotal Weather. You have to tell me what's up with the name of this, short pump. Is this a higher populated town? I don't know. I found it kind of funny. But there's odd names everywhere of towns. But, in this red area, that's where we could get over 2 inches of rain, kind of from Charlottesville to Old Short Pump here. 2 inches of rain could fall. But anyways, the south central U.S., this is where our severe weather threat is probably a little bit higher. That area of storms, which isn't being modeled the best, is going to head on out of Oklahoma, try to stay more organized into Oklahoma, northeastern portions of the state. Could hit Joplin, Missouri. And then eventually this will race into eastern sections of Oklahoma and then western, northwestern areas of Arkansas, more so just pop-up summer activity in Louisiana, eastern Texas. And then we could get, shows a really powerful supercell trying to develop here, sort of just west of Oklahoma City. We'll see if that actually happens. And some of these storms that could pop up in western Texas doesn't show very widespread on the HRRR model, but these could hit severe limits too. And then we're probably going to wake up to more storms just hitting you guys in eastern sections of Oklahoma, especially northeastern areas. I mean, it shows some powerful storms clustering up later tonight, and it will greet us for tomorrow morning. We'll have another wet start for central Oklahoma for tomorrow. But just zooming into a couple areas, I always like to take a larger look at things. This is Kansas. We're dealing with the storms right now. This stuff will continue to sort of grind across the southern, southeastern areas of the state. So we take it at lunchtime, 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m. And I think we're about done at this point. And then we start to get later tonight, and some more stuff could potentially kind of ooze into the southern counties of Kansas as we're waking up tomorrow morning. So we'll see about that. Now, Oklahoma, definitely a lot more activity. We already got storms right now. They're not being modeled the best. But we take it to about midday. Just, Bartlesville, Tulsa, Stillwater around Oklahoma City. Be careful. These storms will try to get their act together, re-strengthen, could pack a heck of a punch. Would not be surprised if we get an upgrade to a slight risk in these areas. Tulsa, some intense storms hitting you guys around 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Activity tries to sink all the way down to southeastern areas of Oklahoma. And we could get an organized cell or two sort of between Elk City and Oklahoma City. And if we do, this model specifically trying to pop off a supercell. So we'll see if that happens. It could produce very large hail. And then once again, leftover boundaries in Oklahoma will allow for the firing of more storms. This is midnight tonight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. A lot of heavy rain and storm activity dancing around here in northeast Oklahoma. And this could sag all the way down to Oklahoma City, and this is getting into about 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, and we're waking up to just a washout. So let's see how much rain they're going for in this area for tomorrow. Rainfall between now and... That's not what I like to look at. I like to look at this. Come on, what are you doing? Excuse me, guys. Let's get this worked out. All right. Okay, sure. Let's just go to 7 a.m. So this is between now and basically the rest of the weekend, 7 a.m. Monday. Basically, Oklahoma City points east throughout Oklahoma. 1 to as much as 2.5 inches of rain could fall. A lot of rain on the way. Just a rainy weekend. Stormy. So we move into, say, Arkansas. And this will be the last state we kind of zoom into for the south central U.S. We take it to about 2, 3, 4 p.m. Some organized storm activity, Fayetteville, Rogers, Fort Smith. You got anything going on this afternoon, you're probably going to get hit by some storms. This activity will try to make it all the way down to Mena, Hot Springs, Little Rock, heck, maybe all the way over to like West Memphis. And this is 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., midnight tonight, and just storms basically go across the entire state throughout the afternoon and evening. And then more organized activity could develop by daybreak tomorrow. And same thing, we'll just look at how much rain they're going for in this area between now and 7 a.m. Monday. Good bit of rain could fall. I could see more than this falling kind of in this area, but a lot of rain on the way. North central U.S., we got pockets of rain everywhere. We got showers that will just continue to be around in northern Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan, throughout the morning and afternoon. We got activity firing here in southern Illinois, the southern half of Indiana. We already mentioned kind of Ohio, so we're going to be dealing with some storms in the southern half of those states. An area of organized storm development could get going later this evening in Iowa. Shows it weakening pretty fast. Then more downpours should pop up around southern Minnesota later tonight, maybe western Wisconsin. And then we'll get all the way into tomorrow morning, and we're going to be waking up to storm activity once again for southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, getting into northern Illinois and southwestern sections of Wisconsin. So just to zoom into a couple areas, though, because I did not just mention South Dakota at all, which obviously has the slight risk. But we do need to watch out for some storms in this area. It takes all the way till about 6, 7 o'clock before these storms get going. But Rapid City shows you guys getting hit on this particular run with a pretty mean storm around 8 p.m. tonight. We'll see if that actually happens. This activity will continue to cruise down this interstate corridor. Let's see if it tries to get close to Pierre. And it really doesn't. It shows a lot of this weakening, but we could get the development of more storms late tonight, like the wee hours of the morning. Aberdeen could get some storms, and this eventually could sneak all the way into eastern sections of the state. Nothing too crazy, though, but we'll certainly watch for that. And then we look at Nebraska, starting off mid-morning, take it to about early afternoon. Nothing really going on. And then it takes all the way to about 7 p.m. Some storms begin to affect areas of like Scottsbluff, western Nebraska. We take it to about 10 p.m. It doesn't show these storms being very intense, but they very well could be. Tornado threat into this region. Small. Sterling could get some storms in Colorado. And then we take it to about midnight. does show a line of storms rumbling through central areas of the state. So be aware of that. If you're not a night owl like me and you go to bed at a decent time, you certainly could get hit by some storms in the middle of the night. And all this stuff will try to cruise across the state, and then we'll kind of round the boundary of the ridge and then probably drop into Kansas. It might not be being modeled the best. I can't speak, so we'll watch for that. But moving forward here in the western U.S., we could get some widespread storms in Montana, eastern Wyoming, and it just doesn't show it a whole lot on this, but it does show some nasty storm development after midnight or around midnight in sections of Montana up here. And just taking a closer look at Montana here, starting off this morning, take it to this afternoon, not a whole lot going, a little bit of storm action in the middle of the state this evening, but it does show that little bit of action turn into more action like 3, 4 o'clock. And this is kind of out in the country here, Montana. We're getting some nasty storms, 4 o'clock in the morning. So some big boomers up here, riding the top of that ridge before they sag eventually south or go more so eastward. So, but temperatures, cooler day in the northeast. You're kind of on the cooler side of this ridge. 60s, not too bad though. I mean, it's a nice day as far as temperatures. The mid-Atlantic and the southeast, very hot and humid conditions. I wouldn't say very hot, but just warm and very humid conditions. And then the middle of the country, kind of about the same. And then you get out west where the ridge is flexing. It's hot across pretty much the central and southern Rockies and the southern high plains. And you guys are just being dominated by this ridge. All the flow going on top of this ridge, and it makes sense that you guys are hot because you're being influenced by this mid-level ridge. Now, moving forward, guys, talking about the severe weather threat over the next 2 days after today. So this is what, Sunday into Monday. So Storm Prediction Center outlook for tomorrow looks, very similar to today. Severe weather threat across the high plains, northern and central high plains, and it does extend into the southern plains too. A level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather. Now, the short wave kind of continuing to drift across the eastern U.S. will bring a risk of some of these storms becoming more severe in areas of VA and North Carolina. So we, of course, will dissect that into tomorrow morning's video. But the tornado threat for tomorrow, 2% risk across these areas. Northern Kansas, right to the heart of Nebraska, South Dakota, up to North Dakota, sections of Wyoming and Montana. The wind threat, 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour in that yellow area. And the hail threat, just like today, 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch, but in that black outlined area, you also have a 10% risk of significant sized hail. And there is a flooding threat for tomorrow also. Once again, this area, 15% risk of flooding. And then across areas of the upper southeast and mid-Atlantic. And the central Apps, 15% risk of flash flooding there. Now we go to day 3. Now this is Monday. The pattern kind of switches. Still a mixture of driven off what's going to happen today into tomorrow. But we start to get a larger area of lower pressure that really starts to help to weaken this ridge and really impact the pattern a lot more than just normal run-of-the-mill flow going across a ridge and stuff like that. So we have a slight risk, level 2 out of 5 across areas of the upper Midwest and just the northern plains, level 2 out of 5 here in the yellow. And then the marginal risk goes around it, kind of oddly shaped here, extends all the way down into central plains, across the northern high plains, all the way into the Midwest, and portions of the Great Lakes region, and all the way up to the U.S.-Canadian border. As of now, all we know is that there is a 15% risk of any severe weather within 25 miles in any given location. But as you can tell, just the risk of thunderstorms continues for a large area of the country. So just keep that in mind. Now we go into day 3 as far as the flooding threat, just 5% risk across the board. Now, what's driving, I would say, the next 2 days of severe weather? We're really getting into tomorrow. So I just want to kind of lead you guys into the outlook for Tuesday into Wednesday, because what's going to happen kind of today, tomorrow, even into Monday. Monday, it's kind of a combination of a few things more so, but today really into tomorrow, is really driven off kind of the same thing. So tomorrow, as far as the flow, it's about 18,000 feet up in the air, a few miles up in the atmosphere, 500 millibars. Flow is continuing to round across this ridge. So our ridge is kind of set up across this area right here. I'm going to kind of put an H right here. Let's see if we can draw on this H right here. Flow is sort of riding just like that around it. And it kind of goes like this, a little bit more like that over there. So in general, if I get that back off your screen, your flow is kind of cruising across this region. Okay, and then some of it kind of dips down like that. So as the flow kind of enters more of a moist environment right into here, okay, that's overlapping conditions for severe weather. So that certainly allows for a higher chance of severe weather. Now you see this kind of light shaded color of blue here. This will drive a little bit more of a severe weather threat for tomorrow across North Carolina and VA as we finally get rid of this more weakness in the pattern that's been with us for like a week. It's moved from Texas all the way to the eastern U.S. by the time we get into tomorrow. So we get this kind of off your screen and we continue to move here and we look at moisture in the atmosphere for tomorrow. You can tell that flow is going right over a very moist air mass. Not going to draw those arrows again, but we got this kind of slither of moisture at the surface that gets all the way up into Montana. Dew points in the 60s, heck, even some 70s across the Dakotas, Minnesota, and surrounding states. Of course, it's a very humid air mass. It always is this time of the year, pretty much between now and the foreseeable future across the southern states. But, you know, you still don't always get this push of moisture all the way up into here. So you got this flow from the flow riding over this ridge, and this is hitting this moist environment right into here. This allows for a higher risk of severe weather across these areas for Sunday. Now, as we continue to say, let's move into Monday, okay? Remember, we got that slight risk across these areas. The ridge kind of breaks down, so it's kind of flatter now, okay? But still, the flow's kind of going across this region, and then kind of going like that, okay? But this ridge is kind of flattened down a little bit more compared to tomorrow for Monday. And once again, that flow is pretty much riding over a moist environment. And you might think, if you're a new viewer, Mitch, you keep saying flow. I don't know where are you talking about. As I put my cursor across these colors right here, this is flow at 500 millibars, about 18,000 feet up. So wind's going about, if I put my cursor, anywhere from 30 to 50 knots across this area. This allows for a push kinematic-wise in the atmosphere. Kinematic meaning wind energy. This basically pushes. It's a pushing mechanism to get these storms going. More flow in the atmosphere a lot of times allows for more storm development, and if there's a moist environment, you get overlapping conditions, and you get a higher risk of severe weather. So the weakness kind of occurs here, and you get a flattening of the ridge. And of course, if we jump to this and we look at, make sure we're on the right day here, yeah, Monday afternoon, and then we look at Monday afternoon here, that flow is going over a very moist air mass. Dew points all the way up into the 70s across areas of the Midwest and the central and northern plains. So this will be going over a pretty moist air mass. So that's kind of the look for tomorrow and Monday. Now, we start to get into Tuesday. We have a level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather right in the heart of the country. I mean, right across the central plains and the areas of the Midwest. Includes states like Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, and a very small section of Illinois. Now, we're going to have a marginal risk around this too, and we could end up getting an enhanced risk. But as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday, we could introduce higher severe weather days. And I'll talk to you about why. So, first off, this is Tuesday, severe weather threat. This is day 5. This is Wednesday of next week. It starts to move into some higher populated areas, Chicago, close to Detroit, Indianapolis, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Springfield. Level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather getting into these areas, the Midwest, sections like this. So what's driving this? So, we were talking about the ridge, right? And this is for Monday. We'd already talked about Monday, but I want to start here. So your flow is going around this ridge like this, okay? And I know I'm going to cut this arrow through these orange, more salmon, pinkish, whatever colors you want to call this, warmer colors on your screen. But the flow, some of the flow is going to go like this. Some of the flow is going to dip down like this. But in general, I want you to watch how this sort of disappears as we move from Monday afternoon to Tuesday afternoon. Okay, go all the way to Tuesday afternoon. You see how a lot of that orange color kind of disappears and we just get more white? A weakness begins to emerge in the pattern, and that's because an upper trough, a lower pressure, is starting to ride in from the Pacific. So I know you ain't seeing much here, not a whole lot to see, but this is a weakness right here, and you can see it really well as I kind of go like this, and it kind of dips down like that, right? And then it kind of goes back like that. That little dip right here is an upper trough developing a weakness in the pattern. So as we start to move into Wednesday, you can really start to see this. So you see how you got that area of blue showing up? That's a lower pressure. It's not as strong as it was, say, in yesterday morning's run, but it's pretty obvious you got some sort of storm system right here. And I mentioned this in yesterday morning's video. It's like you got a roller coaster of flow kind of going like this. Now, there is some flow down here, too. It's kind of diving down like this, right? Riding up like that. And when it rides up like that, this helps yank in even more moisture all the way up through here. And, of course, the flow accelerates around this low pressure like this. So accelerated flow over a pretty moist environment. I'll certainly get the job done. You still got the influx of moisture going around this ridge also. So a lot of flows, if you will, working in tandem. Now let's get this all off your screen. And another way to look at this, of course, is what we looked at for Sunday and Monday. And this is Tuesday. And you can see this weakness in the pattern, folks. Roller coaster here, flow. You can see the wind barbs right there kind of pointing out of that direction. That means the flow is coming out of that direction. So that means it's coming down like this, and it kind of dips down like that, right? And then kind of goes crazy like that. But this is just developing in the Tuesday. But you can already see a little, in the way of some higher colors, but more blue and purple and pink colors right in here. That is where your flow is beginning to accelerate in the upper levels of the atmosphere, generated by this lower pressure in the atmosphere. And as you start to move into, say, Wednesday is a day I'm watching, guys. I think you could have a higher severe weather threat on a Wednesday. You can really see what's going on the best for Wednesday, as this is kind of cruising across this area, dramatically digs down like this, and then it kind of cuts back up like that. It's your weakness right here, and this is why you have a higher severe weather threat days kind of right into here for Wednesday. And it makes sense, because if you combine that with your moisture, it's very moist Tuesday, and you get into Wednesday, you get 40, 50 knots of upper level flow overriding a moist air mass producing dew points in the 70s. You're probably going to get some sort of higher and severe weather threat. I'm not talking about like a high risk. No. But we got to watch for other surface features too. Do we develop some sort of stronger surface low? You got to figure that one out. All I can tell you is now what we're the most confident in is just a very stormy pattern. So this rainfall predicted between now and the next week, between now and next Saturday morning. Central and eastern U.S., rainy times ahead. I mean, might be little pockets here and there where you might not receive as much, but rainy times ahead. That's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and y'all have a wonderful start to your weekend. Talk to you soon.